Hello everybody, and thanks for having me. In order to talk about the duo I wrote for Nico and Ina, Degradative Interference Plus, I must first describe how it fits within the series of 3 works under the same title, which include Degradative Interference for solo electric guitar, and a solo acoustic guitar work called Degradative Interference LITE, which was shorter and relatively easier to perform. Furthermore, I think that one of the most important things to mention is how this project fits within the context of a rather significant shift in my compositional trajectory in the past 3 or so years. So I'll start there. Prior to 2014, I was working on my doctorate at the University of North Texas, which happens to be where I first met Nico. And as a composer at North Texas, I was absolutely spoiled. I had access to hundreds of thousands of US dollars worth of hardware and software. We had amazing multi-channel studios, and if I wanted, I could even work in a 16-channel black box theater with 270 degrees of projection display, lighting, and pretty much whatever I wanted. When I moved from Texas to Boston, although I'm absolutely happy with my situation here, I was met with a significant drawback, which was that I no longer had access to any of these tools. This was at first rather frustrating because I feel like one of the main things that I did during my time in Texas was to learn all of these specific tools, And here I am in Boston, and all I have is a mobile device and my laptop. I didn't even own this microphone at the time because I used to rent them from my institution. It was just a fact that I couldn't make the kind of music that I used to prior to 2014 because I didn't have any professional gear at all. I simply had to reinvent my workflow. Little did I know that these huge artistic restrictions was going to end up being one of the most productive changes in my output. So, let's back up a second. Even before I started writing the Degradative Interference series, I was already forced to focus on what kind of music I could produce with my phone, because it was my only audio-video capturing device that I had. I downloaded Vine, an app which users may make really short duration videos, 6 seconds or less actually, and post them on an online platform that automatically loops the videos as you scroll over them. Well, I fell in love with it and I ended up finding an artistic community there, and I even realized a project called Granulation by Stop Motion. And in this project, I took microscopic footage at random points in time while instrumentalists repeatedly performed simple shaped gestures, and since the footage I took was random, certain gestures were granulated and unordered. I then reorganized each grain in order to resynthesize one of the gestures, and the result is basically a stop motion video of one gesture while the other gesture is randomly granulated, making it look and sound virtuosic. And then making these miniature videos took an enormous amount of labor because I had to manually sort every single frame of the video using the Vine application on my phone. Because of this, I spent so much time on my phone, editing videos, watching other Vine videos, posting some of them to Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, and I began to view the miniature looping mobile videos as a major component of not only my artistic life, but my real life since 2014. When I think about how small this thing is and how we are happy to ignore its poor microphone and its weak tinny speakers, I just find it interesting that this small thing is my window into the world, and even if that is somewhat of a disturbing thought, I'm willing to accept it, especially now. And it's with this attitude I wrote Degradative Interference, which places focus on this tiny frame. First of all the video and audio footage is taken with this device, and Nico uses his device in the performance by amplifying it through the guitar pickups and even pitch shifting his phone sounds with his pedals. After writing this piece, I thought that I would be done working with Vine videos, and that this would just be a phase in my output. But I kept finding myself coming back to making these large-scale Vine video pieces with performance. I then wrote degradative interference LITE, and now you'll see an even larger scale work, degradative interference plus, that indeed also falls under the same idea of placing focus on the frame of the mobile device. In fact, this work probably more explicitly draws attention to the frame. You will see the frame being manipulated and spun around in circles. You will see footage of Ina playing flute, which is being processed through Nico's guitar pickups, then footage of him playing guitar being sent through Ina's Morse code straight key, and so on until we have a sort of infinite recursion loop. The text is, "I am content with the content when the frame makes contact with the content." Thank you.